Do you want to use fabric from your stash that you've had perhaps for the longest time? Do you want to use a free pattern? Do you want the chance of winning a prize just by posting that made up garment on Instagram? If so, keep on watching. Hi everyone, and welcome to Sew Frugal 2022, which is the brainchild of Sam from Frugalissima and Ruan from Yorkshire Sew Girl. Last year they hosted a challenge called Frugal Frocks. It was so successful that the two of them got their heads together and have now come up with Sew Frugal 2022. If you were around last year, the competition just involved the making up of a dress. This year, any garment can be made, a top, a bottom, skirt, dress, whatever, for yourself, for a loved one, for the man in your life or the men in your life, for the children in your life. The only criteria are that you use fabric from your stash, that you use a free pattern, and that's one that you've got from the internet and downloaded, or if you're clever enough, make up a pattern using a ready-to-wear garment and drafting a pattern from that. That's what I did last year. I wouldn't say I was clever enough, maybe experienced enough to do that, but they are the basic rules. You can't use a pattern that comes in one of the publication books, you know, such as the Friday Pattern Company book or the Tilly and the Buttons book and some of the Sewing Bee books. It has to be available to everyone, which essentially means the internet or something that you've drafted yourself. You can't use patterns that have been given to you by friends or left to you, or that you've just come by freely. And when I'm saying those patterns, I'm talking about any of the big fours, indies. It's got to be free and off the internet. Now, it's a big place, the old internet, for patterns, and hopefully myself, and today I have Alex Judge, who are launching the Sew Frugal 2022. Hopefully by watching some of us vloggers or all of us vloggers, you will get some inspiration, or you'll go straight to the sites that we suggest so that you don't have to trawl around, because believe you me, it is a big rabbit hole and not all patterns are made equally. Now, I didn't know what I was going to do, to be perfectly honest. I thought I was going to pick a pattern from one site and a pattern from another site. However, I went on to the fabricsstore.com, and predominantly they sell linen fabrics. So the free patterns that are on offer are mostly made up of linen, the samples that are on their website. I found so many patterns. There were 4 pages of patterns, which I shall show you as a screenshot as we go along. Mostly, as I said, well, they were all for linen, but that doesn't mean to say you have to make those patterns out of linen. If you've got some cottons in your stash or some viscoses or rayons, then you're, quids in, you'll be able to make and hopefully find a pattern from this site. I haven't got much linen in. I tend not to stash linen. I was quite surprised at how little stash I do have, so I'm really happy about that. I've only got 3 pieces of linen in. The rest of my fabric stash tends to be the cottons and the rayons. So I went through and I've picked 5 patterns that I really like. I'm hoping to make at least 1, if not 2, depending on what I choose. Now, as you've seen from the screenshot that I've shown you, most of the patterns aren't fitted as such, but that's basically because obviously it's a free pattern and they want to get those patterns out to as many of the general public as possible. And the other reason I chose this site is because it's really inclusive with regards to the sizes. If I remember correctly, I think the largest size is a size 30. I will put in the description the sizes that are available so that you can see for yourself rather than just spiel them off right now. And truth be told, I actually haven't got them in front of me. So let's get started, and I want to show you some of the patterns. I'm going to show you 5 patterns and some of the fabric choices that I've got for those patterns. Now I am going to have to look down. I've got my notebook. I'm actually prepared. I haven't got photos of the patterns that I'm thinking of making up because they're not printed off yet because I haven't decided what I'm going to do. So I'm going to have to look at my phone to tell you about the photos or the picture, the garment, but I will put a picture up on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. So the first one, I've got to get my specs on. The first one is a trouser. Now, some of you may not want to make trousers. You don't feel confident enough, and especially when it's a free pattern, but these are really nice trousers. They're a pleat front, and they've got quite a straightish leg, but they're not a close-fitting trouser. They're not a wide trouser. They're just a nice width. I would say the bottom width, looking at the photo here, is about 16 inches. But as I say, I will put photos up. Now, they've got their sample in linen, and as I said, I've only got 3 pieces of linen indoors in my stash, and that's left over from last year because I just didn't get to make up what I wanted to make up. And one of those pieces is spoken for because I want to make something for my husband. But the first fabric I've got is I'm pretty sure I got this from Andrea from Beyond the Pink Door last summer. It's a linen, and it's an enzyme wash linen, I do believe, and I'm not sure if it's coming up properly here, but it's a very light khaki come sage green, and interestingly enough, that is what the sample picture is showing. Doesn't have to be linen, as I said. The other fabric I found, which I've had in my stash for, it's either 2 or 3 years. I got it before the Wretched Sea thing to make some trousers, and it's a wool blend. I think it's a wool viscose blend. Get my teeth in there. And I got this from Fabworks because I do find that they are really good for suiting trousery type fabrics. So this one, as I say, has been sitting in my stash for, I've got a feeling it's 3 rather than 2 years, which is a blue, and it's got in the weave it's got white, so it's almost got that linen-y come denim-y sort of look, but it is a navy blue, and it's a nice, it's actually, if I just pull this up, I don't know if you'll be able to see, no, because there's no light. Oh, can you see? It's actually quite a lightweight fabric, and even in the summer, if you've got a nice lightweight wool suiting trouser weight fabric, then it's perfect. So that's the first item of clothing I'm wanting to, or looking at making, and I'm tempted because I think this year, because it was a frock, and I love a frock in the summer, I absolutely adore a frock in the summer, I'm sort of tempted to do some separates because I have been trying to make separates, but we'll have to wait and see, won't we, what I decide, because you know us girlies are like, we're always changing our mind. The next one is the Chelsea Raglan top, which is, if you just bear with whilst I get it up on my phone, it's quite a short-ish boxy top, sort of t-shirt style, short sleeves, but it's got raglan sleeves, which makes it really nice and easy for fitting. And unlike some sort of boxy tops that don't have any, because there are no darts or what do you call them, seams, princess seams or anything like that in any of these garments. Well, I say any of the garments, but essentially there are no shaping details in the garments, and I think with the raglan sleeve that tends to give you a little bit of shape. So that is a really nice plain. Well, the sample, as you can see when I with the picture, they've done it in white, which is classic. I've got two pieces of fabric. The first, I think I got it's either last summer or the summer before last, I can't remember. And I think actually this could have been a Higgs and Higgs, I can't remember. If it wasn't a Higgs and Higgs, it was Andrea from Beyond the Pink Door, and that is a white broderie anglaise, but it's not too holy. And when I buy sort of fabrics that I think I'm going to make a top out of, I usually get my 2 meters, so there's more than enough for that. Or I've had this in my stash for, again, it must be 3, I think quite a few of these things I got certainly before pre-COVID. This is definitely Higgs and Higgs. It's a linen, and it's sort of a stone coloured background, and you can see it's got a jacquard design, and it's printed, and it's really hard to get printed linens. I know there are more coming into the stores, but it's a nice bold stripe, and I'm not sure if I would make it with the stripe going that way or the stripe going that way, which I quite like. And I think with something as big and bold as that, with the stripe going horizontally, it almost gives it that sort of vintage feel. So that's the second top I'm looking at. The third one is called the Anna Rose dress, and I'm loving this because it's right up my street. I'll just get my photo. Now, it's a button through dress, drop shoulders, again, because these are going to be so easy to make with regards to fitting issues. If you're like me, I like the brand Toast, which is a British brand. I'm not sure if they're abroad or in the States, but their aesthetic is essentially loose fitting clothes, not great big baggy tents, loose fitting clothes, usually sort of nicely fitted and neat on the shoulders, but your sort of your linen pinafores and just your sort of loose linen frocks. And this frock, I think, is quite reminiscent of a Toast frock. Now it's buttoned through all the way down. I think there's a lot of hacking opportunities with this. There's no collar. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking it's just got a binding to finish off the collar. As I said, drop sleeves, and then just a big baggy, well, I say baggy, a big poof sleeve, which is very wide at the bottom, and then that looks like that's finished off as well with the binding. And as you can see, there are pleats at the front and pleats at the back on the bodice and on the skirt. Now, as I said, I can see some great hacking opportunities if you're a hacker like me. And for those that don't know what hacking means, it means where you take a pattern and you just change it either a little bit or a lot, just by changing the sleeves or changing the length or adding a frill. You get my drift. This one, I think, is perfect for hacking. You could have just a top, and although it's not quite the same, if you're into the Anna Allen top, I forget what it's called now, I know that that's got sort of proper fitted sleeves that are puffy, but it's got the feel of the Anna Allen, in so much as if you made that, didn't put the skirt on, had the sleeves, round neck, button front, Bob's your uncle. You can make this, I think, with the pleats in the bodice and then forget the pleats in the skirt. I actually quite like the front of it with the pleats front and top and bottom, but the back of it I am not so keen on. Now the model is really slim, and it's, I mean, her bottom looks lovely in it, but I'm not sure my bottom would look so lovely. But it's one of those ones you can actually sort of play around with first, and then before committing to it, either choose what you're going to do, or you could, if you didn't want to do pleats and you wanted to do something more easily, because the top and the bottom pleats match up, you could just have a gathered skirt and then add it to that. I think this is really, really versatile, because, as I say, you can make a top out of it, or you could have it as a dress. And the fabric I'm looking at for this, again, you'd think I'd have shares in Andrea's shop. I bought this last summer, and of course, I mean, despite the fact we had a really, really hot summer, it was sort of early middle summer, and by the time we got to the end of summer, weather had changed. And I know there's a lot of you out there that loves a jungle print. So do I. And I loved this because it was just so vibrant, because even though you've got lots and lots of the greens, it's different colour greens with the, almost with the tealy greens, but you've got those pops of colour with the red. And were there birds in this? I can't remember. But it's beautiful, and it's, I've never seen anything like this before. It's a viscose, but it's not full on satin. It's not in your face shiny, but it's got that sort of feel of satin, and it almost, I know it's not, but it almost has that feel of silk. So I thought that would be really, really pretty in that. And then the other fabric, I've had this, I've been very, very precious with this. It's a Nana Iro. I actually got this direct from Japan. It was a lot cheaper than buying it in the UK. I think it was nearly half price, and I was really lucky not to get nabbed by customs duty. And I've been really precious about it, because it's because anyone that knows Nana Iro fabrics knows that they are works of art, because she is an artist, and she just transfers her paintings to fabric. Now, I think a lot of you, there are different colourways of this. A lot of you will recognise this print. Now, this is a linen. I tell a lie, 4 pieces of linen. I forgot this was linen. This is a linen. It's quite a thin, and it's so soft. It almost, I tell you what, if you didn't know better, I mean, it's only got the one layer, but if you know what the feeling of double gauze is, it's almost got the feeling of double gauze. And I think this would be, again, a really pretty dress. And the difference between these, even though this is soft, with that dress, is that obviously you've got the sort of slightly more firmer linen, which for the pleats or gathers will be a little bit more obvious and firm, whereas with this, it's obviously a typical viscose. It's very floppy, so you'll have the drape. So depending on what look you want, that's those two. And I've had this 4 or 5 years. That's how long. You know what it is, you know, you just get these fabrics and you just don't want to use them. And this is why the So Frugal 2022 challenge is such a good challenge, because it forces you to look through your stash. I was quite surprised how little stash I had, because I keep it in big boxes that do end up getting folded flat when they're empty. And a few of the fabrics are quite bulky, so there aren't that many pieces, because I have slowly been sewing my stash over the last, well, since I retired 6 years ago. So that's that. And what else have I got next? I have got, it is called the Anchor Hilo shirt, and again, a photo will go up. I've just got to get it up on my phone, and it's a really nice shirt, actually. If you're new to shirt making, but a bit nervous about doing collar stands with a collar, this is ideal, because it's just, well, I wouldn't even, it's not a grandad collar. Let's have a look. It's not even a grandad collar. I think it might be bound, or there might be a little facing in it. but it's a lovely, lovely shirt. It's high-low. It comes, as you can see, sort of just below the tummy and then longer at the back. I have got two possibilities for this one. I bought this when I went up to the Gold Hawk Road in London last September. It's a linen silk mix. Now, some might think this is a little bit grungy, and if you've seen any previous videos, I did talk about this fabric because it has that feel of sort of journalist abroad. It's got that sort of feel, and it is, I mean, it's sort of a blacky, bluey, lilac-y colour. It's really hard to describe. I think, I don't know if that's, so you can see, because you've got white, see that in the edges, but, and it has almost, I know it's a little bit creased, but it has that sort of slight, if you can see, seersucker type texture, which will make it really, really cool in the summer, because obviously seersucker sits away from the skin. So that's one of them. That's a fairly new piece. That was bought last summer. But this piece, and a lot of you I know will recognise this one. It's a Lady McElroy. I've only got a few pieces of Lady McElroy because it's not that I'm a bit, I love their fabrics, but I don't think they're necessarily me. But this was so pretty. I loved the colour, and it's, I think, do they call it hummingbird or bird song, or, but I thought that would be really nice because it's cotton lawn, so it's nice and lightweight. I've actually got more than enough to make a shirt, but to be perfectly honest, I don't want to make a dress out of it, although I could if I changed my mind, but that's for that. And as I've had that, I bought that I think the same year I retired, so that's 6 years old. That's been sitting in my stash. And then last but not least, I have, what we got next? Let's have a look. I've got, oh, this one I love. And I think if I do go for, oh, see, it's so difficult. This is such a good website in so much as there are so many patterns to choose from if you like the same sort of thing I do. And I think it's a cross between a Rita shirt dress and well, the what do you call it, it's the Tilly and the Buttons dress, the one that everyone's been making, the button through one. I think it's a cross between those because it's got the Revere collar like the Rita shirt dress has, but it's got that sort of loose bodice and then the gathers. But the thing is, and it's button through or down the front. Again, I think this is quite a versatile frock because you can, if you don't want gathers, you could put pleats in there. You could actually use the top as a shirt, just lengthen it, or has it, if you know, if you've got the slim waist and hips, you can have it as a cropped shirt. You'd have to still have to lengthen it a little bit because it'd be a bit short. Or you could, if you didn't want to do the buttons all the way down, you could just have the buttons down to the waist and then have it just a full closed skirt on the bottom. I think it's really versatile. And you can change the sleeves. Now, the sleeves are sort of half length on the upper arm. Depending on, if I do this and print out the pattern, depending on the measurements, I may be tempted just to either lower that sleeve, or again, you could just do a style I don't think warrants, I don't think a big puffy sleeve would suit this because it's quite a clean look, but maybe sort of change the sleeve up a bit, maybe, it depends. But I love this dress, and I really do think that possibly, it's so difficult, but the fabrics, now obviously linen, so that's quite crisp and it's sort of quite structured. I've got two very unstructured fabrics. This one Now, who was it? Was it, well, Dior were doing lots of florals a few years back. I think I've had this 2-3 years. It's a viscose, and I got it because I like a black background with a floral print, because I think it's quite versatile, because you can either wear it in the winter or in the summer. Summertime, I think more evening, get my teeth in, evening-ish. So if you were going to an evening barbecue or something like that. But it was a bit Gucci, a bit Dior perhaps. I just loved it. Loved all the colours. I think it's really, really pretty. And I thought that would be really nice. And then the last but not least fabric I've had, I think it's started doing the rounds again. I've had this for a few years now. Not 3 years. And it's a viscose twill, so it's wet. It's supposed to be heavier weight, but it's actually a nice lightweight viscose twill. And I'm thinking more autumn, winter, spring. Only because of the colours, and it's the sort of the bluey grey with the, well, they are orange, it's not coral, orange pops of colour. And I thought that would be really nice for that dress. So that is my 5. I hope you found the suggestions useful to you, maybe inspired you, and even if you don't choose those, maybe give you some ideas of fabrics. Now, I need to tell you about the rules again. You've got to use fabric from your stash. You've got to use a free pattern, like I've said already, from the internet. And then once you have made up your garment, you need to post it on Instagram. Your account must be open to everyone. It mustn't be a private account, because if it's a private account, no one can see your creation or creations, because you're not stuck to making just one item of clothing. If you want to make a whole ensemble, that's up to you. You can enter as many times as you like. But the reason you need to have that open account, that non-private account, is that you need to tag both Ruan at Yorkshire Sew Girl and Sam at get my teeth in, at Frugalissima, and then they will see your creations and you will go into a draw. Now, I believe, and I'm sure I'm right, I believe that it's going to be a random generator type jobby, rather than Ruan and Sam choosing a pattern. You have to make your clothes, garments in the month of January, and the closing date for, and when you put your pictures up, is the 31st of March. So that's it. So I wish you luck. I hope, as I said again, I hope you find some inspiration. I've got to check. Now, I'm so sorry. I need to tell you because as I say, Alex Judge is on with me today. And then tomorrow following is, just bear with me, get my little list up. No, don't want that. Okay, we have, right, on the 20th of February, following myself and Alex, we have Sharon Sews and Mari Made This. We've got, I think, a total of 70 vloggers this year doing videos for you all, which is about twice as many as last year. I think we had about 35 last year. So it's been really, really popular. All sorts of vloggers, all sorts of tastes, all sorts of ages. So I'm sure you will find something that you're going to want to make. And I hope that we've taken the hard work out of trawling the internet, because believe you me, it is a hard job, and any of you that follow Sam from Frugalissima will appreciate how much work she does every week when she posts her freebie videos. So I'm going to sign off now. Happy hunting, happy stash stroking, and I can't wait to see your designs come up on Instagram on the 31st of March. Bye now.